Good morning. Thanks so much for kicking off your Tuesday with us. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe's off, so it's just us this morning. We're going to begin our show with the aftermath of South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham's sudden death. Graham's sister, Darlene, is preparing to take over his seat in the Senate. With President Trump's blessing, she's expected to be sworn in later today as his temporary replacement. South Carolina's governor appointed her yesterday to serve out her brother's term, which ends in January. It all comes as we learn new information about Graham's final hours after FBI agents visited his D.C. home yesterday. It's part of an investigation into his death, though no foul play is suspected. NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor joins us. Sahil, good morning. So let's start with the appointment of Graham's sister, Darlene. Tell us about her and why she was chosen. Is it like more of a symbolic move, or will she be expected to carry out what would have been his duties?
Well, Savannah, it's more symbolic than anything else. She is expected to be sworn in at 2:30 p.m. today, a pretty rapid turnaround. But under the Senate's rules, with the governor appointing, they can do this. She's not going to have Senator Lindsey Graham's chairmanship of the Budget Committee. She's not going to have any of his seniority, but she is expected to vote reliably with the GOP, with Senator Graham. I think that's sort of what she was alluding to when she said she now gets to be there for him at this time. She also doesn't get to be the person in President Trump's ear influencing policy the way Lindsey Graham was. But they do need someone to fill out this term for the next several months until voters in South Carolina pick someone for the next 6 years. One of the reasons she was chosen is that she was relatively non-controversial, too. The governor was supportive of her. President Trump was supportive of her for this appointment. Tim Scott, South Carolina's other senator, was supportive. And this has the advantage of staying out of what could be a fairly crowded primary for the Republican nomination to serve in this seat for the next 6 years. Savannah, she did not, Graham's sister, Darlene, did not have a long paper trail of being involved in politics, but she did cut ads being very supportive of her brother for this position.
Sahil, what more are we learning about Graham's final few hours and this FBI investigation also into his death, seeing those agents at his D.C. home?
So we've learned that this all went down Saturday night. Lindsey Graham was complaining of chest pains. We now know that it was a staffer, per our understanding, who called 911. From there, things unraveled quite quickly. Graham's office cited a preliminary finding from the medical examiner saying this was aortic dissection due to a condition he had called ASCVD. Medical experts we've spoken to say this can lead to an aortic rupture without warning, which can suddenly be fatal, which appears very consistent with what did happen. Now, in terms of the FBI investigation, two law enforcement sources familiar with that scene have told NBC News that this is simply out of an abundance of caution, that there's no new evidence they've seen for foul play. Of course, those questions arose after FBI Director Kash Patel tweeted about this. The FBI doesn't generally get involved in natural deaths due to heart failure. So, of course, it raised some people's antennas, but it appears that law enforcement is downplaying that element of it.
All right. And Sahil, also to switch gears here while we have you, I do want to ask about a congressional hearing. It's coming up today. It's involving two Supreme Court justices, Elena Kagan and Amy Coney Barrett. Why are they appearing?
They are appearing before a House Appropriations Subcommittee to talk about the budget request for the Supreme Court and, most importantly, court security. This budget request includes $920 million, an increase of nearly $30 million from fiscal 2026. The main reason is security. That includes more security for protective guard services, security systems and equipment for the courthouses. They're also asking for money for this vulnerability management program, which includes tools to remove personally identifiable information of judges from available sources online. This all comes in the wake of increased threats to judges and justices. Savannah.
All right. Sahil Kapoor, thank you so much for kicking us off this hour. Well, in Maine, there is growing outrage after ICE agents shot and killed a man during an attempted traffic stop. Maine Senator Angus King says he was informed by the Department of Homeland Security that the man who was killed was not the target of an ICE warrant. This is the second fatal shooting involving ICE agents in the last week. Parts of the incident were caught on camera. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has that video. Some viewers may find this upsetting.
New videos out revealing key moments connected to a deadly ICE-involved shooting in Maine. In one video, you see a white vehicle driving in a circle as an agent attempts to grab the door. It's unclear if this was before or after shots were fired. In another video, you can hear that fire. And in this video, you see what appears to be federal agents pulling out the limp body of a man, his hands then placed behind his back. In a stunning development, independent Senator Angus King issued a statement saying the victim of today's federal law enforcement shooting was not the target of the warrant. King's spokesperson telling NBC News the Secretary of Homeland Security called King to tell him the news. Minutes later, DHS released this statement saying in part, ICE was conducting targeted surveillance on the last known address of an individual with a final order of removal. An individual who was not here legally departed the residence vehicle. Quote, the vehicle attempted to flee the scene and fearing for public safety, an officer discharged his weapon, adding the driver of the vehicle was struck and passed away from his injuries. An immigrant rights organization told NBC News it identified the man killed as a 26-year-old from Colombia, adding he was authorized to work in the United States, having been issued a social security number. News of the fatal shooting sent scores of protesters marching through the streets of Maine. NBC News reached out to Maine's Attorney General for comment on Senator King's latest statement. They previously said a deportation officer would be placed on leave per standard protocol. Erin McLaughlin, NBC News.
Well, President Trump is facing new legal pushback this morning over his settlement with the IRS. In a 56-page order, a federal judge in Florida said the president sought to, quote, manipulate the judicial process with his $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS and Treasury Department earlier this year. President Trump alleged they failed to take the necessary steps to prevent a former IRS subcontractor from improperly disclosing his tax returns and those of his sons to news outlets. Trump's attorneys later withdrew the case. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the sides had reached an agreement. This is what established, you might remember, that controversial nearly $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund and then shield the president and his family from IRS audits. NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos joins us now from London with more on this. Danny, good morning. So in her order here, the judge, it's U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams, she wrote that the nature of the suit was, here's her quote, an attempt to use the court to provide some legitimacy to confer immunity to people and entities affiliated with the president. So walk us through what she found most at issue here.
The main issue for the judge is that there may not have been a case or controversy. You can't sue yourself. That is not a controversy. Savannah cannot sue Savannah, and similarly, the government cannot sue the government. And in this case, it was essentially Trump versus the IRS. And the evidence that this was not a case or controversy was actually in the facts, because what happened was the government filed suit, the executive branch filed suit, and then nobody answered, because who's going to be the one on the government defense side to enter an answer and actually oppose the president? Not me, says the other government attorney. So the judge saw that and said, this is not a true Article 3 case or controversy. And even though the parties, once they realized that the judge was probably going to have a problem with this arrangement, they voluntarily dismissed the case. They filed a document saying, you know what, we've reached an agreement, we're out. But the judge said, not so fast. Even though you voluntarily dismissed it, I still have jurisdiction over this, and I can issue sanctions and do other things.
Danny, is she sort of saying in essence that this lawsuit was a rigged game, kind of the way that they were able to get these two things on either side, the anti-weaponization fund and that shielding?
She didn't rule on the underlying settlement agreement. But yes, she pointed out the fact that this was essentially, in her view, an effort to essentially sanction immunity and other benefits for people by this lawsuit, essentially by an entity against itself.
Danny, Judge Williams ordered sanctions also here against a number of people involved in this. It includes Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, Associate Attorney General Stanley Woodward. Blanche is set to face the Senate tomorrow for his confirmation hearing as Attorney General. Do sanctions, though, affect them professionally in any way? Could that have any bearing on what we see tomorrow?
Sure. You have sanctions and then you have attorney discipline. And what the judge did with Blanche and Woodward was actually take that order and send it to the respective bars. So, for example, for Blanche, that would be New York. For Woodward, that would be the D.C. bar. And then the professional responsibility folks, they would review it, and then they can impose discipline. For some of the other attorneys, there were actual sanctions. For example, thou cannot appear in this district for a certain period of time. So the court has power to issue or mete out sanctions on its own. But then also when you refer for discipline, you're not actually imposing sanctions. You're saying to the respective bar, hey, take a look at this guy. You may want to discipline him. And that is a scary thing for us attorneys, because discipline can range from a public censure all the way to disbarment. And disbarment is the figurative death penalty for us attorneys.
Danny, this is the latest example of a judge calling out President Trump in some way for his use of the judicial system to sort of punish his perceived enemies, or maybe like take a step in the power that he has. But does this order from Judge Williams carry any real consequences for the president beyond what we're seeing here?
Well, I think you pointed out already one of the most spiritual consequences is that Todd Blanche is now heading into a congressional hearing with the specter of this order hanging over him. And you can bet that he's going to hear questions about it. And of course, as I mentioned before, there is nothing scarier to an attorney than the idea, even though the judge herself didn't impose those sanctions or actually sanction Blanche, but rather send it to the bar. That is not something that by just sending that over to the bar, that could create some real problems for the attorneys.
All right, Danny Savalos from London for us. Thank you, Danny, very much. Well, in the Middle East, tensions between the U.S. and Iran continue to escalate less than 1 month after both sides agreed to a truce. Late yesterday, U.S. Central Command said it wrapped up a third consecutive night of strikes on Iran. Those strikes came hours after President Trump announced he will reimpose a naval blockade on Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. Well, in response, Iran's military said it fired missiles at an American airbase in Jordan. NBC News Washington reporter Alice Barr joins us now with the latest details here. Alice, good morning. So what are we hearing from Central Command about this latest wave of strikes from the U.S. and that Iranian response?
Savannah, good morning. CENTCOM says this was a 5-hour mission that finished just after 10 o'clock last night and included strikes on military targets across Iran, including coastal defense systems and missile and drone sites. And CENTCOM again said the goal here is to further degrade Iran's ability to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran fired back against U.S. Gulf allies, including Bahrain, and also attacked 2 tankers in the strait that are linked to the UAE, killing one person on board from India and injuring 8 other people. Remember, Iran is trying to control the strait, and its Revolutionary Guard said that the tankers had ignored repeated warnings. And now the UAE is threatening to retaliate against Iran, which, of course, could widen the conflict just as it's ramping back up.
Alice, it's been nearly 24 hours also since President Trump announced he would reimpose that blockade on Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. This has obviously just become this linchpin of this conflict. Walk us through the specifics and what we know about what is happening in the strait right now.
Yeah, it really does all come down to the Strait of Hormuz and to a power struggle over who's going to have control over it. President Trump said yesterday that the blockade was going to go back into effect to stop only Iran's ships or ships of its customers that are coming and going, with the intent to squeeze off Iran's oil trade and to further cripple its economy. But the president added that the U.S. should also now be reimbursed 20% of the value of any cargo that makes it through the strait to pay, he said, for the cost of securing that vital shipping route. He said the U.S. would now be the guardian of the Hormuz Strait. That move, though, would go against longstanding policy in this country about supporting free navigation through international waters. It's something we've heard administration officials repeat publicly. Their support for Iran, we know, has said it wants to charge tolls or service fees, and President Trump has fiercely opposed that. And now the UN Maritime Agency is out reaffirming there should be no tolls here.
Alice, of course, the Strait of Hormuz has this massive impact on the global economy. We see the price of oil jumping right after President Trump's blockade announcement, kind of going back to what we've seen, taking away any of that progress. What is the economic fallout of this latest escalation?
Yeah, we're seeing the prices continue to surge. The global benchmark crude oil has now topped $87 a barrel this morning. U.S. crude surpassing $82 a barrel in all. We've seen U.S. oil go up more than 13% since trading opened Sunday night. And experts are noting here that the new jump in prices may take something like 48 hours to trickle down to customers at the gas pump. But as President Trump himself often says, the price of oil is tied into the price of everything. He's continually said it's all going to drop as soon as the fighting is over. But clearly we're not there yet. Savannah.
All right, Alice Barr, thank you so much. Well, summer is coming on with a vengeance this morning as 120 million people are waking up under heat alerts. A heat dome has settled in from Utah through to New England, pushing temperatures nearly 20 degrees above normal. That means cities like Detroit will see that mercury coming close to the 100-degree mark. And then meanwhile in Texas, an entire summer's worth of rain is expected to hit parts of the state over the next 2 days. Multiple rounds of storms have moved across West Texas, bringing between 2 and 6 inches of rain. Forecasters even say some isolated spots could get up to 15 inches. When the southeast, repeated days of rain have caused flooding so intense there, it's actually covering cars and even making some of them float. And in Missouri, first responders were out in rafts trying to rescue people who were caught by the fast rising floodwaters. One person was killed after her home was swept off its foundation by that water. With all that in mind, let's get a check in on our morning news now weather. We've got Angie Lassman with us. Hi, Angie. Good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning to you. You laid it all out. We've got a whole lot going on when it comes to the weather. Let's start with the heat. 120 million people included in these alerts today as you're waking up. We've got across parts of the Northeast, the Great Lakes, and the Northern Plains, and stretching across the West, heat alerts that range from heat advisories, heat watches, to heat warnings. And that's because yet again, we are going to see those temperatures surge thanks to this heat dome that's really just keeping all of this hot air in place. We've got 96 today in Minneapolis. It'll feel like 100 degrees. We've got 102 for the heat index in Chicago. New York City tops out at 95, but will feel like 97. And even Salt Lake City, 100 degrees for your actual temperature today. That heat continues into tomorrow, not much relief, and we'll see the potential to break a couple of record highs across these regions as we gear up for yet again high 90s, if not triple digits in some spots, and feeling like 102 in Chicago tomorrow, 103 for what it will feel like in New York City. By the time we get into late week, we still have hot conditions for most. We're going to see temperatures ending up into the triple digits for the actual temperature in Washington, D.C. by Thursday. A little bit of relief, I guess we can call it, by Saturday in that region with a high of just 96 degrees. We will get back down to the 80s in New York City by then. Otherwise, when we know that when we have these heat issues, this is really common. Air quality alerts are up. So if you or someone you know has difficulty breathing, this is going to be something that you're going to want to limit outdoor physical activity for. Philadelphia, New York, up through Providence, all included in this through the day today. Meanwhile, we've got a whole lot of rain that we've been tracking across parts of the South, specifically Texas, where 6 million people are under flood alerts right now. You can see these flash flood warnings ongoing just south of Kerrville and to the south of San Angelo, with some of these thunderstorms that have popped up. This is the kind of stalled front that we're watching be part of the culprit for why we're seeing so much of this kind of repeated rainfall. We've also got this high pressure that's ushering in some of this really kind of deep tropical moisture. So all the ingredients are there for us to see that front collide with some of the higher terrain in this region and ramp up the rainfall amounts. We've already seen multiple inches of rain. We've got the potential to see more of that here as we get through tomorrow. And these are going to be slow moving storms. So this is why we have that really great concern across this region, Savannah, for more flooding, something that folks that live in this area need to watch for at least through tomorrow.
Absolutely. And Angie, like I said a moment ago, some areas, and you're talking about now even up to 15 inches. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
That could be super dangerous. All right, Angie, thank you so much.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.